let's get into this NFC South preview right now, starting off with the Atlanta Falcons, who have not made the playoffs since 2017. They finished in second place in the NFC South last year with an 8-9 record overall. We gave them for the offseason an A- for the draft, a really good draft for the Falcons, but only a C for free agency. But Dalton, what is the biggest strength of this year's version of the Falcons?
Look, I know they lost their standout center, Drew Dahlman, in free agency, but this is still an elite offensive line. Ryan Neusel at center has got some experience, at least from previous years in Atlanta. And then you still have four other really good players. Jake Matthews and Caleb McGarry at tackle are two of the 30 best in the NFL, according to our rankings. I think Chris Lindstrom is the best guard in football, certainly the most dominant run-blocking guard in football. And Matt Bergeron at left guard is I think, continuing to improve. Going into year 3, I think he's going to be even better, possibly a top 10 to 15 guard this season as he continues to get more comfortable this year. I think between their pass protection abilities of protecting Michael Penix, who is a true pocket quarterback, he's not going to improvise very much, and then the holes that they open in the run game for Bijan Robinson, for Tyler Algier, they make this unit go more than anything else, more than the young dynamic players they have on the outside, and they certainly have those, but this offensive line to me is the heart and soul of this football team.
So great in pass pro, not so great in pass rush right now. It's kind of been the issue with the Falcons in the last, feels like half decade, if not longer, for Atlanta. Now, they did add Leonard Floyd, but he only had a 54.5 pass rush grade last year. The hope is, we gave them an A for their NFL draft. The hope is 2 first-round picks in Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr., both of them going to play edge this year, it feels like, with Jalen Walker. The hope is that those two can come in and immediately contribute, if not be the starting edge rushers for Atlanta. They were both excellent pass rushers at Georgia and at Tennessee. You're hoping that those two can come in as rookies and completely change around this pass rush.
Yeah, that's really what they need to improve the most if they're going to make the playoffs, on top of just 17 games of a consistent Michael Penix Jr., right? But there's a lot of names to work with now when you look at especially young names. You've got Arnold Ebiketie. You've got Jalen Walker, who played every snap of his first preseason game off the edge, not a single one at linebacker. James Pierce Jr., who was elite the last 2 years at Tennessee. Braylon Trice coming back off his injury. Brandon Dorlus inside. Ruka Rororo inside. I think you're talking about plenty of names. Somebody, one or two of them, just has to step up and be an above-average pass rusher, because this team last year, bottom 3 in pass rush grade, bottom 3 in pressure rate, bottom 3 in pass rush win rate. Them not being able to get to opposing quarterbacks was really, to me, the biggest reason, aside from the turnover struggles in the middle of the year with Kirk Cousins, that they couldn't make the postseason. You have to be able to pressure all the good quarterbacks we have in the NFL.
So nobody was surprised with the Falcons' first-round picks in the 2025 NFL Draft, considering how badly they needed help with their pass rush. Dawn, we were very surprised with their 2024 first-round pick in Michael Penix Jr., considering they gave Kirk Cousins a brand-new 4-year, $150 million contract, if not more than that. Michael Penix Jr. was a surprising pick at the time, but now he's the franchise quarterback. And when Kirk Cousins was benched last year, Penix came in the last 3 games of the season, and he looked really freaking good.
He was spectacular. That and 2 other appearances in mop-up duty early in the year, an 87.6 passing grade last year, and a 9% big-time throw rate. What he showed you was 2 things: his ability to throw the ball vertically, which he did in spades at Washington, and his ability to read defenses. I think, he's talked about that ever since we saw him speak at the NFL Combine, and somebody asked him, look, Michael, you're not as mobile as some of these other prospects. You're not really going to get out and run very much. How do you make up for that? And he says, it's my processing, it's my field vision. I know how to attack defenses. I do think that is the case, and for him to play as well as he did in those 3 starts that he got at the end of last year, after sitting on the bench the entire season, he didn't take many reps with the ones throughout the year, and yet he still came in and played extremely well. His final game, 7 big-time throws in Week 18 against the Carolina Panthers. Despite the loss, it certainly wasn't his fault that they lost the game. Penix's ability to throw the ball vertically in a way that Kirk Cousins just wasn't physically able to do last year changed this offense. I really believe as long as they protect him and he's comfortable back there in the pocket, I think he could have a big year. I think Drake London's going to have a monster year with the target share that he got and the chemistry that he's already got with Michael Penix Jr. So I think this offense, if they protect him, and they should be able to, like we mentioned, with a good offensive line, he could have a high-flying season. Ball placement, accuracy, the little things when when it comes to that needs a little bit of work, but as far as him being able to complement this elite run game and threaten defenses vertically, I don't think there's many better options in the league than Michael Penix Jr.
So, yeah, 7 big-time throws against the Panthers. That was tied for the most by a quarterback in a game since the 2021 season. So it's been the last few years since the quarterback had more than 7 big-time throws in one game. So it was incredible in that last game of the year against the Panthers. One guy who's really going to help him out on that offense is Bijan Robinson, who's one of the best running backs in the NFL. He was great last year in his second season in the NFL, 92.8 PFF grade. That was second in the league, only behind Derrick Henry. And he was one of only 2 running backs in the league, alongside Josh Jacobs, to be in the top 5 of both rushing grade and receiving grade. He's got a good offensive line in front of him. He's got Michael Penix Jr. now, too, who's a brand new starter at quarterback. Bijan Robinson, who is an outstanding running back, one of the best running backs we've seen in recent memory at Texas. He's carried it over to the NFL right now, and he's easily, in my opinion, one of the 5 best backs in the league.
You talk about a guy who can do everything on a football field, a dual threat, rushing, receiving, explosive runs, breaking tackles, basically everything that we look for here at PFF. He did it at Texas. Now he's doing it with the Falcons. He's one of the superstars at this position. And honestly, I don't know if we have this as Ben's best bet for this Atlanta Falcon team, but I think Bijan is in the group of candidates who could win Offensive Player of the Year this year.
We will get to a Bijan bet very soon.
Okay, because I think the numbers he could put up as a rusher and as a receiver, he could be, I know Derrick Henry's obviously still great. I know Saquon Barkley's obviously still great and coming off a historic year, but Robinson at some point, very soon, maybe within the next year or two, could be the best back in football.
Who is the best defensive player on the Falcons right now?
Well, look, we talk about their pass rush, and that's struggling and needing help on the defensive line, but boy, they're pretty good in the secondary, and that starts with Jesse Bates. The people here in Cincinnati are still pretty upset that they let Jesse Bates go in free agency.
Our producers are back there.
I know both of our producers.
Ben Quinn.
I shouldn't even brought it up to him, but no, Jesse Bates is just spectacular. One of the best safeties in football. He's been that for a long time. Second best PFF grade in the NFL over the last 2 years behind Kyle Hamilton. One of just 2 safeties with a 90-plus run defense and coverage grade. He's the captain. He's the tone setter. 10 interceptions over the last 2 years, 4th among all safeties. So you talk about Jesse Bates and just the way that he operates this secondary. To me, he's the glue that holds this entire defense together. He was that for Cincinnati in his first handful of seasons. He's been that for the Falcons. Everything as advertised the last couple of years. He's the captain. He's their best player on defense.
So the rookie to watch is also on that defense. Not their first-round pick, but their second first-round pick for me, because I love James Pierce Jr. coming out of Tennessee last year. I had him as a top 10 prospect in the NFL draft. The Falcons got him in the late first round last year. Over the last 2 years, Pierce is 1st in pressure rate, 5th in pass rush win rate, and 4th in pass rush grade. So again, the Falcons, who really need help with their pass rush right now, I think Pierce, at least immediately, would be the better pass rusher than Jalen Walker, who's kind of learning a new position, playing full-time edge rusher this year. Again, I was a huge fan of Pierce. I had him over Jalen Walker on my personal big board. He was a phenomenal player at Tennessee. He's a freak athlete with elite explosiveness and get-off. And the crazy thing about him, he was top 5 in the country in pressure rate, pass rush win rate, and in pass rush grade in the SEC as a sophomore and junior. And he's still relatively raw, too. He's still kind of adding more moves to his arsenal. So if he was that good without many moves in his arsenal, imagine what he could be like when he does add some moves, too. So big fan of James Pierce Jr. He is a sneaky candidate to win Defensive Rookie of the Year this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, look, and you look at both of these guys, I think these are 2 rookies who are as important to their team as any rookies in the NFL because of their struggles to rush the passer and because of how much that really hurt them on defense last year, right? And Walker, obviously, if he's, like you mentioned, if he's going to be a starting edge defender full-time and not play any linebacker, he's going to have to figure that out. And James Pierce Jr., just one of the most dominant pass rushers we saw in the country for the last 2 years and got a lot better in run defense last year, too. Both of them need to both make an impact this year for the Falcons to improve that pass rush, but Pierce proved it for 2 years at Tennessee. Absolutely, he was fantastic.
So the best bet of the year, we teased this before, according to Ben Lindsay, our top betting analyst here at PFF, is Bijan Robinson to lead the NFL in rushing yards at plus 1,100. You can get 11-1 odds on Bijan Robinson to lead the league in rushing yards on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. So we at PFF, and again, these tools are available to you guys with a PFF Plus subscription. We project Bijan Robinson to have 1,343 rushing yards, kind of the median for him this year in 2025. The only two who were ahead of him were also the two who finished ahead of him last year in Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. But as Ben points out, Saquon is coming off a 400-plus carry season. We usually see some decline when guys have that many carries the year before. And, of course, Derrick Henry is 31 years old now. Of course, though, age rules usually don't apply to Derrick Henry. But you right now can get Barkley at plus 275 and Henry at 4-1. You get Bijan Robinson at 11-1. Right now. So I agree with Ben. I really like this bet a lot for Bijan Robinson, 11-1 to lead the league in rushing yards.
I think I agree. If you were going to pick somebody aside from those first two, obviously Barkley and Henry were both historically great last year, but the mention of volume for Barkley is intriguing. Plus, you talk about now the Landon Dickerson injury and how long that might keep him out. If the interior is a question mark all of a sudden for Philly, that affects things. Derrick Henry is 31. You wonder, look, and he was historically efficient last year too. Over 6 yards a carry last year. Is he going to do that again, or is there going to be at least a mini step back from the lofty standards of Derrick Henry? But you look at this Falcons team that led the league in run blocking grade last year behind Chris Lindstrom and those guys up front. And again, for as much as we like what we saw from Michael Penix Jr., made 3 starts last year, right? He's still a young quarterback. They're still going to run the football first in this offense. So I think at 11-1, that is a solid value bet. He'd probably be the next guy up that I take beyond those first two.
So the over-under for the Falcons right now on DraftKings is about 7.5 wins right now. You're going over-under for Atlanta, and what is the bottom line for the Falcons?
I'm more tempted to go over 7, and I thought you were going to say 8.5. I'm more tempted to go over 7.5. They won 8 games last year with no pass rush and very little vertical ability out of their quarterback situation with Kirk Cousins most of the year. I do think there will be times where we see Penix go a little hot and cold because, again, the accuracy, the ball placement isn't perfect. It wasn't perfect at Washington. I don't think he's ever going to be the most accurate quarterback in the league because of the way he likes to attack downfield. But I do think his arm complements this run game better. I do think if Penix were to live up and play something close to what he did in those first 3 starts, this team could compete with the Bucs at the top of this division. I'll take over at 7.5. I'll take the over, but I do need for them to be a real legitimate NFC contender. I need a pass rush. I need Jalen Walker and James Pierce and maybe even Braylon Trice and a couple other guys to come through in a pass rush.
Yeah, there's enough offensive firepower there for me to also go over 7.5, but they need more of a pass rush for me to say, okay, they can really compete at the top of the NFC right now. So I think there's potential there for Atlanta. They're a very young offense with Michael Penix Jr. and Bijan Robinson and Drake London and all those guys over there in Atlanta, and I like the additions they made in the draft to help out that pass rush, but we got to see it come together this year. So I'll go over 7.5. Don't know if they'll make the playoffs this year, but I can see them winning about 8 or 9 games in 2025.